Stand by alert. Death Star approaching. Estimated time to fire range.
Feeling about this.
Derail us on the ring path. Do we want to do a Star Wars podcast now? It's like 9:15.
Yeah.
Since you derailed us on the ring path, I think that it is clear that Eva is Frodo, I am Sam, and you're Smeagol tonight.
As long as I'm the main character, that's fine with me.
I die in a pit of lava.
Yeah, I gotta carry you, so I don't think you can carry me, Eva.
I'm just a little guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a little guy with
I've got
cool
rope
sword
around my neck and it burns. This sucks.
This sucks.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 265 of the Skyhoppers podcast. That might have been one of our worst opens ever. I'm one of your hosts, Smeagol, and I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Frodo and Sam.
Hey.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
I was trying to think of anything Frodo says, and I couldn't.
You came up with, hey.
Hey guys, it's
Frodo,
me, Frodo.
probably.
Welcome to my live stream.
Anyway, we came out after hours talking about Elden Ring. Dakota decided to make about Lord of the Rings, and now we're here. We are recording this on the day after Skywalker Saga came out, or did it come out today?
It came out yesterday.
Yesterday.
Okay, yeah. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Unfortunately, Dakota is the only one that's played it.
And you can see me downloading another game in the background if you're watching the video version. So it's not even like a Star Wars.
And it's not even, again, no offense, not even a game that I would have pegged Eva as wanting to download.
It's just
it is
that
MLB The Show.
I'm trying this new thing where I try to get involved. I try to get involved in my friends' interests, and Brooklyn is really is a huge Giants fan, and she's coming to visit this summer. We're probably going to go to some Braves games, whatever. And I'm like, I half know about baseball, and I really like baseball when I watch it, but I don't know most about baseball. And the easiest way for me to get invested in something is a video game. So I said, I'm going to struggle my way through MLB so that I can show Brooklyn that I love her by learning about baseball.
That's really sweet,
this all
actually.
makes sense now.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's just nice. That's just nice. That makes a lot of sense. But we're not here to talk about we're not here to talk about baseball. Yeah. Thank God. This podcast is
our savior.
This podcast after hours is weird, folks. I apologize. Things are it's leaking. It's made worse by the fact that I think we are just sitting down to talk about Star Wars tonight.
Which we don't do every week. You might think we sit down and talk about Star Wars every week, but you'd be wrong.
It also
I'm actually standing up.
Is made worse by the fact that Cole isn't here, so it's just unhinged hours over here.
Yeah.
Maidenless behavior. Absolute maidenless behavior. But what I did want to talk about a little bit, because we are on the Boxing Day of the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. I wanted to talk about a little bit about all of our experiences with the Lego Star Wars games, because they're kind of this. It's funny to me. One thing I've kind of noticed is that they are quietly one of the most beloved things by the intersection of people that are video game players and Star Wars fans. They like, you either hate them, which is something I've heard as well, that they're just like,
I've never heard that.
Really?
Yeah, I've never met anyone that.
Because I mean,
I've never met anyone who has nothing less than absolute love for those games.
Yeah.
Well, the first two, at
I
least.
might be the one. I might be the one. I definitely don't dislike them. I enjoy playing them. To me, they are definitely games that I play with somebody else. They are not games that I particularly enjoy playing a ton of on my own. I boot up. I've got the Complete Saga, which of course, that name did not age well.
LOL.
I've got that on PC, and I do boot that up every once in a while because Star Wars games are always installed on my computer. Always. I never uninstall them.
Right.
So it's always there when I want to go to it.
Of course.
And at this point, I will once I do pick up Skywalker Saga, that'll probably be my go-to. I want to play that with Allison. I think she'll enjoy it a lot because at the end of the day, you correct me if I'm wrong. My read on them is you play them to collect all the things.
Yeah.
Is that just the whole? At the end of the day, that is the whole point.
Well, and also it's goofy Star Wars.
Yeah, you get to play through Star Wars movies, and it's goofier. And you get to
play the pod race level over and over and over again until you have it burned into your brain as a 24-year-old adult, and it's the only thing you think about every single day.
God, you think about it if you're me, you think about it for other reasons.
The pod race level is the best level ever made in all of video games. I'll say it. I'm not afraid.
But also, it's fun to go beat up some droids as Darth Vader on Theed. I just think that doing weird little stuff like that is neat.
Yeah, when I freestyle play as baby Anakin Skywalker and just walk through the middle of an enormous battle and don't do anything.
I did not mean to sound disparaging when I said that's the whole point. Because obviously what's funny, I'm hearing this now and it's being put in front of me. And it's like, of course, this sort of thing appeals to the two of you slightly more than it appeals to me, since I am grumpy about all things Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I will say it is fun to play. It's fun to play free play. Some of the most fun I had as a kid was playing the first Lego Star Wars game, running around Dex's diner and out front, just like it was me and my brother, Boba and Jango Fett, just killing everybody.
Yeah, just starting fights.
And we did that for hours. We did it for hours. So fun. Anytime someone spawned in or walked out of the diner, boom, dead.
They're dead.
Dead, gone.
Yeah. And see, okay, so this is one of my complaints about the game so far. There doesn't seem to be any sort of like home base Dex's diner type thing. And it could be possible that I'm bad at video games and just haven't found it yet. But
I was actually talking to somebody just a little while ago, and they said the same thing.
Yeah,
that was my big
one, so I assume you're probably.
That was my big complaint with Lego Force Awakens was that they gave you multiple hub worlds that were like kind of open world at the same time, and I think I've talked about this on the show before too, but I had the same issue with Lego Star Wars 3, which is Lego Star Wars Clone Wars, where they do the same thing where they give you a hub world, but it's so big that it just kind of sucks. That's what was good about Dex's Diner and the Cantina in the first few games was there was stuff for you to do, but there was only so much. It was like you could be inside or you could be outside around the building, and that was it. And inside there was like some stuff to do, but it was mostly the levels. And outside you could see all the stuff you'd collected, and that was cool. And then in Lego Star Wars 3 and then Force Awakens, they tried to make it like an open world where you can go and explore the world of Star Wars. And I literally in Lego Star Wars 3, I would just get lost all the time. Like I could not find the levels to play the game because I would get lost in the hub world.
I feel like I haven't played a lot of the Lego Lord of the Rings game, but I feel like that's how my experience playing that was too. Like I would just get lost in the Shire or wherever I don't remember what the hub world was, if there was one, but I would just always get lost.
Yeah. And I definitely don't want to go too far down a game design development rabbit hole here, but I do think it's pretty, I can imagine it would be difficult to continue to innovate and try to please as many people as possible for a game series that is at its core so simple.
Yes.
There are only so many things you can change up before it's no longer Lego Star Wars. And again, not at all.
Here's my hot take.
A knock.
My hot take is and this goes for like every Lego franchise, whatever. I don't think they needed to innovate. I think that for the most part, they like, give you a small little thing, like give you a small little place to explore so that you have something to do in between levels, give you an easy way to get to the levels, and then in the levels you make it a goofy retelling of whatever franchise it is. And then, like I thought that the first couple of Lego games, not just the Star Wars ones, but like Lego Indiana Jones and stuff like that too, pretty much nailed the formula. And then they started trying to innovate to change it up, and then I was like, oh, just not as good. Like, I do like that in the new one you can turn off the voices and stuff, because that's one of the worst things I think Lego's ever done is add in voices, because the charm was
the voice acting.
The charm was like, oh, you'd have Anakin and Obi-Wan act out something dumb, like that was the charm. And then they were like, well, we could just put in lines from the movie, and it's like, or I could just watch the movie. Like, it's not why I'm playing this game.
And like, I'm not trying to be grumpy either. I'm enjoying the game, but I do think that I won't ever love one as much as that first one, just because it was so simple and like they had the perfect formula there.
I think that's a super, like, I'm surprised, because that's how I feel about it. Was I feel like I don't know. I understand that, like, to continue to get published and continue to draw in new people, you do have to innovate.
They can't just make the same game over and over again, even though that's what I want.
Yeah, they can't. Right. I think all three of us here would want the same game over and over again.
With different characters and levels, but the same.
But no, and again, I really don't mean to sound negative about it. I am very excited to pick up the game. I'm really excited to play it.
Here I am being like, oh, hub worlds, blah, 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 whatever. If I don't get that platinum, I'm going to go insane. I have to 100% the whole game. Like, I was already like that with the first two games, because I was like, I love Star Wars. I need to build all the little ships in this game. Now that I can get trophies for it too, oh my god, my brain's gonna melt.
Insatiable. Yeah.
But no, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Dakota, though, you bring up an interesting point, talking about how you're never really going to love any of them like you love the first one. And that's got me thinking as well, about kind of the nature of, like, the role of nostalgia in Star Wars. That's obviously a very big, very heady question. I've been thinking about it in much more personal terms, because I was yesterday, like I said, I've got all the Star Wars games that are pretty much all the Star Wars games on every digital platform installed on my computer at all times. So in case just as a mark of, as a way to honor them. They are the pantheon. They never get it uninstalled. And just in case I want to boot up, it's like if I get the hankering to play Star Wars Battlefront 2005 or 2003, whenever the first one came out, I want to play it. But that is what leads me to this point. I think Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 is a fantastic game. I think it looks gorgeous. I think that DICE and EA really turned it around. And it's unfortunate because the game was kind of DOA. But there's a ton of content in it. There's a ton of single player content in it. Good split screen stuff. It's a ton of fun. I think it's great. But I booted up the original Star Wars Battlefront yesterday, and I was like, I'm playing this game that I think is, by all metrics, objectively a worse game with less content, right? With less to do. That I said objectively because I think that it's like, if you're looking at it based on, like, like graphics, things to do, that kind of thing, the numbers are lower. I found myself enjoying myself more playing that one than I do playing the new Star Wars Battlefront. do you think that either of you, because I know I've talked about Star Wars and nostalgia before, do either of you kind of relate to that, or are you aware of it when it's happening?
Yeah, you show me anything from 1999 that's Star Wars, and I'm like, it's beautiful. Which is also kind of weird because I was like 2, but I think it's just like the general, not even just like Phantom Menace specifically, but I think that if you show me any like Star Wars merch or book or I don't know, like Pepsi vending machine, whatever it is, from like 1997 to like 2006, there's a fondness so deep in my heart that like I go insane, you know? Like I just love it. I just love it. Like that very specific like early 2000s, we love the original trilogy, but the prequels are here now and everything's like kind of weird and like very, you know, like that very specific vibe. I'm like, you hand me something Star Wars with that and I'm going to kiss it right on the forehead. I love
it. Dakota, what about you? I feel like if I had to... Sorry, my cat is stretching. It is the cutest
big stretch.
Big stretch.
Big stretch. But so Dakota, I feel like you just love things in Star Wars on such a holistic level that if I had to pick someone who like wasn't going to feel this way, it'd be you.
Yeah.
Do you experience this as well?
No.
Because I feel like you just love it all so much that it's all like just been...
Yeah.
You know, you've carried that love entirely with you throughout your entire life.
Every single time a new thing comes out, and I'm like, yes, I love Star Wars. So yeah, I was trying to think of like an example that I have of this. So thank you for absolving me of having to do that because I don't think I can. There's probably some things like, I don't know, I like Return of the Jedi more than I like Empire Strikes Back, even though Empire Strikes Back, I can see why that is more of a masterful film. And maybe that has something to do with nostalgia, but also...
also Return of the Jedi is the best original trilogy movie.
Yeah,
so
all right.
I'm never going to change my mind about that, no matter, like...
Look, here's all I'll say. There are 4 Skyhoppers. One's favorite is A New Hope, one's is Empire Strikes Back, and two's is Return of the Jedi, so we got you beat.
Okay, if I guess if we're taking a poll of the podcast's favorite movie, you've got us beat.
Yeah.
But
we voted.
I don't know what point you're trying to prove here.
Return of the Jedi is the best movie.
The point that we have to prove is that you and Cole are wrong.
Yeah.
All right. It is well known, well documented that both Cole and I cannot be wrong at the same time. So your statement is false.
Well, one of you has to be.
We'll talk about this later. Eva, you brought up you both just keep bringing up interesting points, and I feel like I'm being the host. It's like, tell me more.
Yeah,
but you talk enough that it doesn't feel like that. It's fine.
Cool, thanks.
I say it with love in my heart. I didn't mean that meanly.
Oh man.
But
that wasn't a dig.
You do bring up an interesting point, Eva. You bring up the fact that you feel that nostalgia for things that, because nostalgia to me is like things I experienced, things I had. It's like when I look at the Sand Trooper mid-90s Star Wars action figure that I had, it's like that is nostalgia to me. But also, and this is something that I experience with like now recently PlayStation 1 games as well. I had a PlayStation 1. The game that I played on it more than anything was Jedi Power Battles. I loved that game. That game was sick. It is still sick. But I feel the sense of nostalgia now for just that system. And I kind of feel like maybe it's like, oh, maybe I didn't quite utilize that as much as I should. And the same goes for like Legends books. I did not experience a lot of those as a kid. But I get that same warm, fuzzy, nostalgic feeling. And I think that's interesting. And I think that nostalgia is, in a lot of ways, I think what's good about all of us is our nostalgia does not keep us from wanting Star Wars to move forward and to do different things. And I worry about that sometimes because I'm an anxious person, and I worry a lot about like, do I even love Star Wars? Is it just nostalgia? And it's like, no, that's not true at all. Because I'm still very much like, I'm excited. I'm bummed as hell that I haven't picked up Queen's Hope.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting the name of the book, but I want it very badly. I haven't picked that one up.
Yeah, we can carry on. Sorry.
But I think that's the most important thing.
I mean, I don't know how it is for you all or Dakota, I guess, at all, since Dakota doesn't feel any of it.
Okay.
But Dakota does not have nostalgia. Dakota just loves.
But I think for me, the nostalgia, the way that I experience Star Wars nostalgia is more like just like a fond comfort feeling. Like, I also, other than, a Boba Fett book here or two or here or there, whatever, did not read Legends books basically at all as a kid. But I spent a lot of time at the local library, and there were always Star Wars Legends books, and even though I didn't read them, I would always go like flip through them and be like, oh, I like Star Wars, and I was just surrounded by them all the time. So even though I don't know anything about Legends, every time I see a Legends book, I'm like, oh, nice. I remember being 7 and in the public library. That was great. Like,
right.
And that's kind of the same way I feel about just that general era of like growing up right when the prequels were coming out. That it's like, do I remember 1999? No, because I was too young. But all that stuff still permeated into like the early 2000s when I did have a little conscience. So it's like, I remember all of the books and the toys and all this stuff. So it's just the fond feeling of remembering how excited you were to be like 7 on the playground with a new Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure or whatever.
And I think go ahead, Dakota.
Okay. I think that maybe I don't feel this so much with Star Wars, but with other things, I do think I realize where Eva's coming from, and it's like X-Men is something that I think I feel this way about. Like when I read older X-Men stuff, I wasn't there, but reading it feels different from reading new X-Men stuff just because of like the collective nostalgic memory of it. I don't know, like a group consciousness type thing. So even though I wasn't there, I still feel the nostalgic, like warm, fuzzy feeling like Eva saying about it.
It's kind of like how you feel when you're watching like the golden age of television or something.
Yeah,
where you're
like you're watching the Andy Griffith show and you're like, oh yeah, I want to go fishing with my dad now. I've never been fishing with my dad in my life.
It's like inherited nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because you've heard other people talk about this stuff. I don't know. It's obviously, this is kind of ballooning outside of Star Wars. I think nostalgia is in many ways one of the nicest emotions we can experience, but also a horrific disease.
Yes.
At least in my own personal case.
It depends on how you utilize it and how in touch with yourself you are, I think.
Well, I think a lot of people are not in touch with themselves at all and use their nostalgia as a weapon to yell at Kathleen Kennedy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which you can
only... Also, here's the thing that I think...
use of time.
The thing, too, that I think is like... I don't think anyone should be harassing anybody, obviously, but I do think it's really funny because could you imagine if like a group of people our age suddenly got on Twitter with like huge amounts of nostalgia and started berating people for not making movies exactly like The Phantom Menace, like people do about A New Hope? Like, could you just imagine how poorly received that would be? But it's like, I don't know, it's just bizarre to me. And I obviously love the original movies. That's why I'm, that's how we got here. But I just the weaponization of nostalgia to be like there should not be women or people of color or whatever in Star Wars is just ridiculous. Because there should have been women and people of color in Star Wars in the 70s. So.
From the beginning. I know, and that's what's hard for me. It's like I'm not nostalgic for everyone in Star Wars except Lando being white. That is not what I feel a longing for. But I think there are some other issues there. But also, I do kind of feel this is, I'm not going to go too much bigger than this, because this is, I think, expanding beyond the realm of Star Wars here. I do kind of feel sometimes, not empathy. I do not understand what would drive somebody to still be talking about The Last Jedi on Twitter in a negative way in 2022 outside, apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
I do not understand that at all. But I do kind of understand this. Like, a lot of times it's like it's a group of people who the world sucks, right? I have to imagine it's like these people think that this is like the one good thing that they have, which again, not ideal.
Every morning I wake up to bully The Last Jedi on Twitter.
Because that's all I have left.
And Johnson.
Like, I don't know, and it's like on some level I can. It's kind of I don't know. It's a weird thing where it's like I feel you, but you're going about this all wrong.
Well, that's and it's always that thing too, where it's like if people were just calmer and not racist and not sexist, I would understand. Because I think for a lot of people too, there is that element of like, I grew up with this being this way and reading these books, and The Last Jedi did not do what I expected because it did not do 1990s Star Wars books. And I get that. Like, I get how that could be difficult to come to terms with if, that's not how you saw Luke or whatever. I disagree. I think they portrayed Luke incredibly well in that movie, but
of course,
like I understand how you could get there, and I understand how that could be heartbreaking if Luke's been your favorite character for 40 years and all of a sudden he's not who you thought he was. But you still don't need to harass people on Twitter. So
Right, and see, that's why I am happy with the community of listeners and patrons and just hosts that this podcast has cultivated, because we are all able to look at a movie like The Last Jedi, which even among people who are calm, like, there are plenty of rational, very good, open-minded, open-hearted people that don't like that movie. It's like, it is a divisive movie, I think, even among, like, on all levels. But I think what I like about what we've created here is that even if we don't necessarily like that Luke, we understand it's like, it is kind of I get where they were going. I understand why Rian Johnson wrote this kind of Luke, and you have a discussion about it.
Plus, in a way,
like I said, I'm
in a way, I think that's kind of the benefit of there now being legends in canon also, which I know that, people that get angry about The Last Jedi on Twitter don't view it that way. But for me, I think of it like, okay, well, if I did not like how they did Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, I can go read 20 different books about Luke Skywalker being the Luke Skywalker I thought he was, and so, I think that's kind of one of the advantages of legends and canon, is if they do a character a certain way or whatever that you don't particularly agree with. Okay, I didn't like Lando in this Legends book. Well, there are Lando books in canon now that you can kind of jump back and forth if you want to, which, again, the people harassing people on Twitter are going to see the decanonization of Legends as like as a horrible thing, probably, but that it's whatever.
But Eva, you are making that's exactly how I feel about it, where it's just like Luke Skywalker, Grandmaster of the Jedi Order, doing all kinds of crazy Force stuff, being the best person he can be. That is Legends Luke Skywalker for the most part. And I love that. But also, if you are trying to move on from Luke Skywalker, and whether or not they were successful at that in the sequel trilogy is another discussion. But if you're trying to do that, giving me the jaded Luke Skywalker who goes from the lowest we ever see him at to being the most Jedi there ever was.
Yeah.
It's just, forgive me if any listeners disagree. That is, I love that. I think Luke is only in The Last Jedi, second only to Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. Because to me, that is still peak Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
for
it is such an interesting arc to see him, again, lowest of low. He has completely lost all hope. And he comes back and he's like, no, there will be more Jedi. This is the way to do things. And I harp on it all the time. That air quotes duel with Kylo is one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars, because it's the most Jedi thing there. It's like there's no fight.
It's perfect.
Everyone wanted Luke Skywalker, and everyone kind of thought Luke Skywalker was going to
beat him up,
and he didn't. and he didn't. Maybe he should have. Again, the sequels were not perfect. Maybe he should have just put him in his place. But no, I can't. I love it. I love it. I'm getting stammery because it's just
it's just too good.
It's so good. It's
Luke
so
Skywalker.
good. I will never forget, just in case there are people who don't know the story, Ash, God rest their soul, when they were a host on this podcast, we were talking about...
Rest in peace, my brother in Christ.
They walked out of the movies. They walked out of the movie theater thinking, oh my God, Ben's going to hate that.
Right.
And no, I'm like, no, that movie rips. That movie was so good.
Yeah.
It was shocking, though. It was shocking. I mean, did you two feel the same way when you get to Luke Skywalker and he throws the lightsaber and he's just a total jerk?
Yeah.
When that part happened, I think I didn't so much feel... Well, I have two thoughts on The Last Jedi at this moment. I did not feel like shock or like, when Luke threw the lightsaber, because it was so 2018 slapstick comedy that I rolled my eyes at it. I was, when that happened, I was like, oh, am I gonna like this movie? Not because Luke was being grumpy, but because I was like, is this gonna be like a, you know what I mean? There's just a way that they do, like,
yes, I do know what you mean,
in Jurassic World and like you know, like stuff like that. I was like, ugh.
Don't compare The Last Jedi to Jurassic World.
But it's like that like blockbuster cinematic movie comedy where they're like, you know, that sort of thing. And I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And I still, every time, I love The Last Jedi, but I still, every time he like throws it over his shoulder, I'm like, oh God, why'd they have to do that?
I still laugh every single time.
You could have had him throw it. It just not done the whole, I don't know, a whole other discussion.
I think it's hilarious.
The part of The Last Jedi that hurt me the most is when they rip Anakin/Luke's lightsaber in half.
Sure.
That's when I was like, this is detrimental to my... I literally like sat there and cried for like 5 minutes, and my girlfriend at the time was like, there has been so much that has happened in this movie that I cannot believe this is what you set you off. And I was like, I don't know what you were expecting. That used to be Anakin's lightsaber.
Well, and again...
I also think in a way that's like a, I mean, you know, in what world would you think that they would ever destroy like Luke's original lightsaber? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they did it. Mm-hmm. They were like, bye. So they like, we found it again just to break it right in front of you.
Speaking of moving forward, I don't know I don't know when this turned into a Last Jedi podcast, but I guess it is now.
I was thinking the same thing.
I don't know. Say what you will. I don't think that movie is perfect by any means. I think the humor has kind of smoothed over. It's kind of gotten to be okay. I still don't like it. It still doesn't. It still stands out to me. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm still like it's. I mean, it's kind of what's happened with all of the sequel movies except The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens really doesn't have too much that stands out to me as like, don't like that too much. But
I think The Force Awakens had a lot of its humor beats from A New Hope, because it's like the same movie, but it works because it doesn't feel like a modern attempt at like blockbuster comedy, because it feels like a 1977 attempt at comedy, but in HD.
When it does feel modern and it is contemporary in its comedy, it's Finn saying something that's really funny, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That was all of the examples I was thinking of.
I'm not gonna pretend that BB-8's thumbs up was not like the best thing either.
That's the best thing that's ever happened in the history of cinema.
I know, cinema, right? But Dakota, you were gonna say something.
Citizen Kane, who? BB-8 gave me a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I've soured on at all in The Last Jedi is the Poe stuff, but I still love it so very much, and yeah, I might have been meaning to say something else, but it's gone now.
I think Poe...
The Poe stuff is hard.
Yeah, it's...
Go ahead, Eva. Go ahead.
The Poe stuff is always hard for me because... I think we've had this discussion in our Discord before. I can't remember with who, but the Poe stuff is always hard for me as somebody who is assigned female at birth and has had to deal with men in... school and work situations and stuff of just being talked over all the time or being mansplained to, or somebody thinks that they know how to do something better than me just because they don't like the way I'm doing it, even though both, just that very like, accidental misogyny stepping over you just because they think you're a woman sort of thing. And I'm not so much the Poe stuff is difficult to watch in The Last Jedi, I think, because it kind of hits home with that. But
yeah,
I think what's harder for me is that I feel like they went through all of this to try and give him growth to learn how to not be a toxic man, for, just to blatantly say it. And I feel like they didn't stick the landing where they tried to be like, Poe's learning his lesson not to step over women and to listen to his generals, and, maybe Holdo knows what she's talking about after all, and you should learn how to listen and just assume that she knows what she's doing. And they tried to do that, and I feel like they didn't stick the landing, so it just feels like Poe got to be a misogynist for 2 hours and didn't get any like repercussion for it.
Yeah, that's exactly why it soured.
Yeah, which sucks because Poe is such a good character in The Force Awakens, and I was so excited to see where he would go next. And then in the next movie, he's just being mean to women for 2 hours, and everyone just kind of seemed okay with that, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's why it has like gotten to this place where it just bugs me more and more, especially because like I really like Poe. I think he's really a good character, and then they had that whole like that was his thing for the whole movie, and then in Rise of Skywalker it's still like he still didn't turn into the character that I thought he was going to be, and so it's just I feel like it was a waste.
They tried to do the hotshot pilot thing that they did with Han, but they didn't. I don't think that they failed to realize what it would feel like to watch a hotshot pilot step over women's superiors consistently for multiple movies.
And like not change really.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those things that's hard because it's like, honestly, if Holdo had been a man or if Leia had been a man, I don't know if I would feel the same way. But just because of my own personal experiences and the way that it's portrayed, it's very like, oh, that's like, that feels like misogyny, and they're trying to give him character growth and they didn't nail it. And so it just feels like they let it happen.
And
which was really heartbreaking because I loved Poe. I liked his comic book run. I liked him in The Force Awakens. I was really excited for him as a character, and then they just kind of like slapped me in the face a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I wonder kind of if I would love Poe as much as I did if he were played by a less good actor. Did Oscar Isaac save that character?
Probably.
Maybe.
Probably. I mean, I don't know what the like original scripts and stuff looked like, but it's one of those things too where I'm always like, I don't like Poe, but then I'm like, but I love Oscar Isaac, so like I kind of like Poe.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like Oscar Isaac could do anything. I'm like, he's great.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the first Marvel TV show that I have even been tempted to watch is Moon Knight, and it's only because Oscar Isaac is in it.
Yeah.
But what I would have liked to have seen,
since we're here relitigating Last Jedi. No.
Yeah, I don't. This what happens.
We didn't have a topic. We don't
like, if we don't have a topic, we sit down and we start talking about the Last Jedi. I'm expanding.
We went from Lego Star Wars to a Last Jedi recap. I mean, like, I don't know.
I haven't even gotten to that level yet.
It's crazy that it's in the same level. It's in the same game as
freaking Feed.
The Phantom Menace. It's wild. But I echo everything that you two just said. What I would have liked to have seen is for Poe's arc to not finish up, but get to the realization point while Holdo was still alive.
Yeah.
So that he could take some sort of accountability and not right as she's about to die, he realizes, oh, she's saving us. Oh, I'm a jerk.
Oh,
well, better not talk about it. Yeah, right. it would have been nice for him to take that accountability. It's like, I screwed up. And the overall dynamic, I think Rey's arc is important to go through the whole trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard because it's going to sound like I want Finn and Poe to be shortchanged, but if that's not the case at all, I just think that Poe kind of, I feel like Poe kind of begins, I mean, Evie, you said this. Poe begins Rise of Skywalker kind of where he starts with the Last Jedi, in the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then he has to learn to be that leader throughout that movie. And the two movies aren't inconsistent with one another, but you know, it kind of feels samey. Mm-hmm. I want Finn to have his Stormtrooper rebellion that we were robbed. If you ask me, I think that whole thing was like a true thing.
I mean, John Boyega said it himself. Star Wars screwed him over on every level, and Finn and John Boyega deserved a lot better.
Oh, for sure.
And he has even still said, in the right circumstances, he would come back and do more. So it's like, Lucasfilm, do right.
Fix it.
Right, please. Fix it. Fix it. But anyway, I would like to see Finn have more of an arc in The Last Jedi. And then have them be in good places at the end of The Last Jedi. And then have them not even necessarily in a more romantic way, because it's becoming more and more clear that Disney was never going to let that happen. But the dynamic, if you want to say, the dynamic or relationship between Finn and Poe, I would have liked to have seen that be kind of their focus in The Rise of Skywalker. I think that would have been cool, because I think that, in my opinion, that kind of mirrors the original trilogy, where Han coming out of The Empire Strikes Back is not in a great place, but I feel like he doesn't develop too much in Return of the Jedi. He gets out, he's basically out of carbonite and is like, I'm going to lead this mission to the Forest Moon. I'm going to do that. Yeah. So what really could have happened between when he gets out, and it had to have been from before. Leia is Leia pretty much throughout the whole, for better or for worse, pretty much throughout the whole.
Yeah, she already knew it was up.
The whole trilogy.
She had no growth. She was already perfect.
Right.
She was already perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So it's like she was Leia, and what we see develop throughout Empire and then into Jedi is the relationship between the two of them. Whereas Luke is the main character. Luke is our big arc who gets development up until the very end of the movie, the very end of the trilogy. And I truly do not want it to sound like I think they should have shortchanged Finn and Poe, because that's not true at all. I think both of them.
Well, they did though. So
well.
Like
they already,
they did. You're right.
Already did.
Yeah. I think one of the frustrating things about Poe too, I just thought of this going back to The Last Jedi, was that in addition to the rampant misogyny, in episode 7, Poe is just this pilot, and then all of a sudden in 8 and 9, he's good enough to replace Leia, and I feel like we didn't really get we didn't get like a resume of his qualifications or anything that showed that he deserved to be in a leadership position in the first place. And it felt very, people always talk about like Mary Sue's and stuff, and I don't think Poe is a Mary Sue by any means, but I do think that he is just like, you're like, oh, he's an X-Wing pilot, and then all of a sudden he's like, Leia's out of commission, so I need to be the general of the entire thing now. And it's like, what? You were just like a guy flying a plane for a while. And I think that's another thing that upset me about it too, in addition, is just the men thinking that they deserve to be in a leadership position just because they are who they are, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about before. But that whole arc was disappointing, and I do think Poe is better. You're gonna hear me say that I think that something was better in Rise of Skywalker, and I do think Poe is better in Rise of Skywalker, but it's because it wasn't as, like, it was still there, but it was You know, like if The Last Jedi was Poe at like 100, then Rise of Skywalker he's at like 75. Like it was like knocked down enough that I was like, okay, well, now you're just like kind of annoying instead of like actively hurting my feelings.
Right. And it's hard. I think that it's I think it's troubled I think a lot of it is troubled production and not choosing the best writers they could have for these movies.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think
I think they also did Poe dirty.
There were just a lot of real world considerations.
Yeah. Well, I think they also did Poe dirty, not just with the in canon stuff, but like Oscar Isaac saying he didn't want to have the drug runner background, and then they make him a spice runner, and I think that's something that that was a big deal at the time when that story broke, but I feel like that's been kind of like looked over in most Star Wars discussions lately, and I think that's the thing that all the writing and everything of 8 and 9 aside, I think that's what bums me out the most is that Oscar Isaac was like, I don't want to be a Spanish-speaking guy portrayed as a drug lord, and then they were like, well, you're a spice runner now in the last movie in a throwaway line. Like, that just sucks. That sucks for him, and it sucks for, like, I don't know, it just sucked.
It does. I mean, because it's truly like, I asked for this one thing, and they could not do this one thing.
Yep.
There are so many reasons that Poe could have known Zori and Babu Frick. There were so many other ways. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's like, obviously it was tragic that we lost Carrie Fisher when we did, for more reasons than just that she couldn't be in a Star Wars movie, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, suddenly we've got this character, Poe. Now it's becoming the Poe Dameron episode, I guess. You got this character who originally was created and then was going to just die in the first movie. And then I don't know. I don't think JJ knew what to do with him. I don't think JJ and Chris Terrio knew what to do with him. I think that Rian Johnson kind of missed the mark, but he did have a goal in mind. Mm-hmm. It's like his idea was there. I think his execution was flawed. Mm-hmm.
I think his idea required follow through in the next movie that didn't happen.
Right, and then because JJ was like, "Oh, Leia's gone. Poe can be the leader now." That was kind of what he was learning in the last movie. I guess I didn't really watch it. That's kind of how it. Yes. That's kind of how it felt.
Yeah,
and I think that JJ Abrams as a filmmaker has a place. I enjoy a lot of the stuff he's done.
But it's not at the end of a series.
No, it's not.
I will say there's J.J. Abrams, as I'm down on J.J. Abrams all the time. I think it's really funny to dunk on the guy. I obviously don't like episode 9, whatever. But J.J. Abrams has done a lot, like started a lot of stuff that I genuinely enjoy. It's just that he's never good at ending it. And they gave him the last Star Wars movie. And because again, I love The Force Awakens. If I had to pick a legitimate favorite of the sequels, it would probably be The Force Awakens for me. Like, I love that movie. And that's a J.J. Abrams movie. He just doesn't do endings well, and they gave him the last one.
I think it was because all of the movies had troubles. I think they had all been delayed. Can't remember if The Last Jedi was initially supposed to come out in the summer and then got pushed back. I don't remember. I think that was before I was as deep as I am now. But I think Lucasfilm and Disney wanted to wrap it up, put a sloppy bow on it, and be done with it. Mm-hmm. They wanted someone who was going to get this movie out on time.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's what happened. They knew JJ was a competent filmmaker who would keep things moving and get the movie done on time. And it sucks to be an adult and have to look at this thing that brings us so much joy with that level of cynicism. Mm-hmm. But
I think about that a lot with I often wonder if if The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker had come out and I had been like 8 years old, I genuinely wonder like how I would have felt about it, because it's like, would Poe have bothered me if I didn't have the real life experience up to that point of, you know, being talked to by men like that? Would The Rise of Skywalker been like a cool callback to all of the movies I actually, you know, it's like, instead of annoying me as an adult, would I have been like, that's so sick as a 10-year-old? Like, I think about that a lot, where I'm like, I wonder if these movies came out when I was 8, I wonder what I would think about them. Because, you know, I wouldn't have all the real world baggage of knowing stuff like production and delays and you know, misogyny. Like, I, you know, if I didn't have the context for that, I wonder what it would have been like.
I think if kids that I have seen at Celebration, just at the premieres out in the world or anything to go by, I think you'd probably really enjoy them.
I still like them,
you know, because I mean, yeah, we don't, like, you do have that life experience. We all have our own life experiences that we take to these movies. And we, unfortunately, you know, being on the internet, surrounded with the people we're surrounded with, we see the news. We see what's getting delayed. We see all of that nonsense that, honestly, I feel like I'd be better off not knowing. Obviously, delays are hard to, you know, I can't hear like, oh, this movie's coming out May 25th, and then, like,
you show up at the movie theater on May 25th and you say, 1 ticket for Star Wars, please. And the guy says, what?
That'd be so stupid. That'd be so stupid. But no, so you obviously can't completely stick your head in the sand. But no, I long for the days before I was, because I still love Star Wars, but I've talked about this before. Like, being as tuned in as I am, it affects my love for Star Wars. I won't say it lessens it, but it colors it. Because it's, you know too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and with real world stuff, like, that's a big reason I decided to kind of get off Star Wars Twitter, is because I was sick of hearing discourse, because I just wanted to like it. You know, and obviously there's stuff that should be criticized. That's, you know, how real world people are affected, and, you know, racism, and, you know, like, that stuff should be acknowledged. But in terms of, like, I don't know, reading endless discourse about how people think about, I don't know, 10 minutes of this movie or whatever, I don't want to hear it anymore. I just want to watch the movie.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, that's one of those things that's, everyone, I think, has a different opinion on, and we can only just live to the best of our abilities. That said, unless anyone has anything else to add on that, there is something that we didn't talk about. I thought we talked about it because Cole and I talked about it this week on the podcast that I did with Cole. Dakota, thank you. I see you're eating cheesecake on the podcast. I love that. I wouldn't have known if we weren't on video. So make sure you go to youtube.com, search the Skyhopper
Check
podcast.
out my awesome cheesecake that I'm not eating by the mic because this is an after hours.
Yeah. Dakota is
just
considerate.
know that if it was... I do appreciate that, I guess. But having video has really just opened my eyes to what goes on this podcast without my knowledge.
And now it is your knowledge, and you're burdened with it.
Anyway, back to Star Wars. Cole and I talked about this. We haven't talked about this. I guess it did get discussed in the Discord, but I didn't see it. Kenobi got pushed back 2 days. It is now being released. The first 2 episodes come out on May 27th.
I think it's so ridiculous. You know, and people are saying all this stuff about, like, Marvel releases and Celebration, and that's why you think they didn't have the release dates and the dates for Celebration and the Marvel TV shows ready when they announced the release date of Kenobi like a month ago? Come on. It's the most...
Cole and I...
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not... Like, it doesn't impact my life enough to be like... This is... Like, it's not like it's being pushed back a significant amount of time. And even if it was, it'd be like, okay, I'll deal with it. But just on the level of, like, why did this happen? It makes me so, like, absolutely... Like, it makes me feel insane. I'm like, what happened?
It's just annoying.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Like, what on earth happened for you to push back the release date of a TV show by 2 days? 2 days.
Cole,
not even
I will
a week.
Say, Cole has some
2
thoughts.
days.
Cole has some thoughts. It's clearly not a production related thing. It's only 2 days.
Yeah.
Surely it cannot be. So Cole's like, okay, the Occam's Razor, it's for Celebration. They're gonna have a screening at Celebration, and since technically a lot of people will be in Anaheim for Celebration on the 25th, that is not technically a day that Celebration is happening. So they're moving it They'll do a screening there, and it'll be great. And you'll get bummed.
But
Eva, you and I will both be bummed when neither of us gets in it, or when one of us gets in it.
But the Star Wars Celebration dates have been established for such a long time.
Yeah.
And see, that is what is the sticking point for me. Which is Cole also said that it could be that what he wants to see and what I actually want to see is Star Wars shows going back to Fridays instead of Wednesdays. But that's obviously much more speculative because it's just one thing during the big Star Wars event. So it makes sense. But yeah, that was the point I brought up too, Eva, where it's just like they've known all of this stuff for so long. Why are they suddenly deciding to make this change?
The celebration dates were established long before they announced the date that Kenobi was coming out.
Same with I think somebody had mentioned like, oh, they don't want it competing with Marvel. Okay, well the Marvel dates have been like they knew that show was coming out too. That's
not it.
It's just I mean, every single. And it's not a dig at, the people in our Discord or on Twitter or whatever, but like every single reason that I've seen people come up with for why it could possibly have been delayed 2 days, all I can think is any big media company has had all of these little things that you're coming up with planned out for months. There's absolutely no reason that they would not have known that there was a conflict or that this was happening at this time or whatever. It's just, I cannot fathom what the reasoning is.
the one thing that Cole and I kind of touched on that I've come down on as maybe being the underlying reason is that originally they would have liked to have done it at Celebration, and it would have been that week. Celebration is happening the week of Star Wars anniversary. I think it's possible that they truly did not know if Celebration was happening or not until just a few months ago. And I think that now that they are starting to get a schedule put together, which again still feels very fly by night for a company even as big as Lucasfilm, not to mention Disney, still feels very, very sketchy. But I think now that they're like, oh, we can do this now. It'd be fun to do this. It'd be special to do this. I think we should do that. That's the only thing I can think of is that Celebration was still up in the air until they announced the tickets were going back on sale.
I think that probably makes the most sense. I just think that, if I were, I don't know, whoever's making these decisions at Disney, I would have just had it come out on Wednesday and then still just had a showing at Celebration. Like, people are going to want to watch it anyway.
Yeah, even just like have the first episode come out on Wednesday as planned and then show the second episode along with the first episode at Celebration. And then
The Mandalorian literally did that.
Yeah.
Literally did. Didn't we have a premiere and then another episode like the same week? So it's just like, come on.
Because
you can do this.
Even if they didn't do the second episode, like if they were like, oh, here's Kenobi on Wednesday, the day before it starts. Friday, we're going to have a viewing for anyone that wants to come to this room or whatever.
Come watch it with Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. Like,
oh God,
people would still go.
I couldn't. Oh my God, the idea of that, I'd pass away. Watching Anakin Skywalker in the same room as Hayden Christensen. I'm gonna start shaking.
I think what's probably going to happen is Dakota. It's definitely not going to be a chill. Hey, come hang out with us and watch this. It'll be an intense ticketed raffle ticketed system because that's what they did. Sure. I'm honestly hoping they do that again. I don't want to sit in lines for the entirety of my time at Celebration.
Surely they will, because that's a good system.
The whole phone reservation thing was such a godsend because I knew if I had tickets to a panel and if I didn't, then I just got to go do whatever I wanted to. It was so
do something else.
Yeah, like Orlando, I didn't. Cause Orlando, I was only there for like a day or two. I was not there for a while, but I was so like I didn't want to even try to go to any of the big events because if I didn't get in, then I just wasted like half of a day when I was only there for 2 days or whatever. So, I mean, if they don't do the phone QR ticket thing or whatever it is that they did in Chicago, my blood pressure is going to be so high that whole time. It'll be so stressful to the point where it's like, is it even worth it trying to get into the big panels if they don't do that? Like, I don't know.
No, because you spend your whole. I mean, that's what Orlando was like. People lining up for events that were happening in 12 hours.
Yeah,
and it's just like that sucks. That has never been me. I have never wanted to do that. No. I would rather either. I want everyone to have the same chance of getting in, and if I don't get in, that's a bummer. But I wasn't going to wait in line for the panel anyway. So now, the way I look at it, I have a chance of getting into everything, whereas before, I didn't have a chance because I wasn't going to wait in line.
No.
Well, it was nice last time, too, because they included the overflow rooms in the ticketing thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, the only thing you had to worry about with, like, lines and stuff last time was if you wanted a really close seat or whatever.
Sure.
And that's fine. I can deal with that. And also, there wasn't really anything last time that I was like, if I'm not front row, I'll die. Like, you know, it was like, whatever, I'll show up. What doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, it was so much more well organized. It's so much less stressful because all you had to do was have it on your phone and walk up, and they'd be like, "Go on in," and I'd be like, "Thank you." So
now the app sucked. Hopefully, the app is better this year. The app was terrible, but and I'm not usually one to notice when something is bad.
Yeah,
but
that bad boy glitched out on me all the time. I was always so worried that I would have my little QR code to like get in, and that my phone would just like catch on fire or something. I was like, this thing does not work.
But speaking of Celebration, getting out of the narrowcasting a little bit, they've announced a few things finally. Today, I think it was, they announced a panel. I love that we're doing news this late in the podcast.
End, yeah.
But yeah, at the end.
What do you expect from the Skyhoppers?
This, and Christian values.
Of course. Goes without saying.
They announced a panel that is going to give more details about the future of Star Wars on the screen. I can't remember who it was. Somebody I saw on Twitter. I don't think it's someone who listens to this podcast, but they said anything that has been announced that is not mentioned at this panel is gone. Yeah. It is dead. It is done. And I think
really?
That is this is speculation. This is not true.
I zoned out for like 2 seconds, and I was like, what?
I picked a bad 2 seconds.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's probably going to be the case where it's like, if they truly don't tell us anything about some of these projects, then they're as good as done.
Yeah, but if we don't hear about Rangers of the New Republic,
it's gone forever. But
it might show up as a comic book in a few years.
They said, I think that there will be some filmmakers there, some showrunners, so that's going to be one of the big ones to get in. But I'm sure they'll stream it somewhere. They've streamed the last 2 celebrations have been live streamed.
Yeah, I was going to say they're pretty good about that.
But so that was some news. We've gotten some guests finally too announced. I know all of the Phase 1, High Republic authors are going to be there.
Nice.
Which is very exciting. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, my question becomes, do I bring Light of the Jedi out there to get it signed and try and take up precious bag space with something I already own? I don't know. Ashley Eckstein's going to be there. That's not shocking. Everyone loves her. She loves Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Those are the ones that jump out to me right now. But they've announced a few people at this point. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a ton of fun.
I was thinking about this, and I was like, if they were like, Hayden Christensen's going to be there again, I think not a photo because that's expensive, but I think I would sign up to get something signed. It's such a bummer that they don't let you, like, you can get a photo or an autograph. You can't get both. But man,
people are crazy.
I would have him sign. I would have him sign my like one of my Phantom Menace books, like either the novelization or the junior novelization. I'd be like, please, sir, and he'd be like, I'm not in this movie, and I'd say, please, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say the movie.
Didn't even think about it. That's hysterical.
In case anyone wanted to know, by the way, Hayden Christensen's hand, because he shook my hand, is like at least 2 times the size of my hand. That man got big hands. I was like, it was a lot.
He's pretty tall, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very tall.
Yeah, he's tall. He still had to wear heels, though.
Do we have anything?
Pink.
Do we
would like to say
have it?
One.
Yes,
thing.
please.
This beautiful pink book, Queen's Hope. I am so happy that it is in my hands, and I haven't read a whole lot of it yet, but I do love it already. And unbeknownst to me, my copy is signed. I have not met
nice.
Kate Johnston ever, so it doesn't like feel the same, but one day. And yeah, I just love Padme, and I just love Sabe, and I am probably going to go read this book once we wrap up here. So
If you're watching the video, you know that I stepped away and had to miss what Dakota was saying about Queen's Hope because our dog was chewing on a pizza box and making a terrifying noise. So I had to make sure I wasn't going to get murdered.
Sure.
But Dakota, I'm sure you love Queen's Hope. I look forward to picking it up very soon. Hopefully, I'm hoping tomorrow. I'm always talking about the book corner. I hope they just have it.
If they don't, I bet
not, I might have to go elsewhere.
I bet that what's it called?
Morgenstern's.
Yeah, I bet Morgenstern's has it.
My experience with them in Star Wars and new releases has been shaky.
Yeah, but they seem to have the YA ones more often, more consistently.
I know. But I am excited for this one. So obviously I will pick that up, and
I need to read that series because I know I would be really into it.
It's good.
Yeah, you would.
It's actually
I know.
It surprised me. It surprised me with how much I liked it.
Well, it's real gay. It's real gay and prequel Padme, like.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it. The only Padme, some might say.
I would say I'd say it's for sure the best thing that E.K. Johnston has written.
Yeah.
In Star Wars. It's kind of her magnum opus in Star Wars. It's really good.
It's also like she
dog's chewing on the pizza box again.
Famously does not write sequels, so it's really funny that there are she's written 3 Padme books. Yeah.
That's nice.
Uh-huh.
Do we have anything else we want to get to before we get out of here this evening? I can hear the dog. The dog is going ham on that pizza box right now.
You hate that dog.
She is. I don't hate the dog at all. I hate that she's chewing on a pizza box. And I can't stop her because I'm recording a podcast. So, she's just like, this is fine. I get to do this, I guess.
I'm allowed.
Meanwhile, my dog is sleeping very
no one's stopping
nicely.
me. That must be nice.
Yeah.
Mine are too.
Our dog sleeps nicely too, but right now she's chewing on a pizza box. As I've said, I've mentioned a couple times. Please, someone tell me where I can find them on the internet. I think. Dakota, go.
Okay.
2 weeks in a row, Ben doesn't know how to end the show.
Yeah.
I do, but I can hear the crunching on the box, and it's really distracting.
It's gonna blow up his brain. I am on Instagram at Deviation of the Endless and Twitter at Endless Deviation with 1 S. I think I usually do that the other way around, and that really threw me off.
I think you do too.
I'm also probably gonna guest on this podcast called Imago Gay, and it is about Adventism, which is the cult religion that some this evening learned I grew up in, and being queer growing up in that religion. So look out for that. It should be a fun time.
We'll share a link whenever it comes when it shows up. Eva, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Eva Hrinkova, EVAHERINKOVA, and that's it. You could probably look for a 100 words or less review on the Skypers podcast website soon. I'm halfway through Rebel Dawn. So and I've been going through it pretty fast. I just haven't had a chance to read in the past few days. So soon there will be a little review up there, and that's where I am.
Yeah, I'm working on the EU review for Mandalorian Armor. Finished that actually a few weeks ago, but it's been a busy time. But I hope to have that out soon too on skyharperspodcast.com. Eva has been holding down the fort in terms of the trickle of content that we have coming out.
I
but
have
we will
some
always try to
content
keep you
that just hasn't been posted yet.
It hasn't been posted because I still don't quite know what to do with it.
Just put it as is.
Dakota, I have to imagine that I work on this. We'll talk.
I don't know what this content is, so all of this sounds so nefarious to me.
It's not nefarious. It's truly a format. It's it's a formatting thing. We can't figure out how to actually put it on the website. But anyway, the website does exist. Skyhopperspodcast.com. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/skyhopperspodcast. If you want more for some reason, we talked about Elden Ring a lot. Also Berrien Springs, Michigan.
And French Lake, Indiana.
Hours,
and Dakota's religious upbringing, which I did not know about.
Yeah.
And the Lord.
A lot of stuff happens in After Hours. It's not a Star Wars podcast most of the time, but it is sometimes, and I think it's always a lot of fun. Little's $1 a month. That's all you need. We're on Twitter, SW Skyhoppers. You can send us an email, skyhopperspodcast@gmail.com. You can also please CC George Lucas at gmail.com if you would. Tell him that the name Stu John is dumb.
Oh God.
And that Obi-Wan Kenobi, I hate that that happened.
I saw your tweet about that earlier today, and I felt every single cell in my body seize up when I remembered that was where Obi-Wan Kenobi was from.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so bad. Someone replied because Danny of Rogue Podron fame tweeted about, I imagine they were inspired by my tweet and said that one day someone will name a Star Wars planet after George Lucas. And I can't remember what they said,
Luego.
But the name sounded so... That's fine. That sounds so much better to me than Stu John. Stu John is just an ugly word.
Luego is funny. Luego is funny to me because that's a word in Spanish. It just means like then, like THEN. So it doesn't like mean anything. But I do think it's funny that like maybe one day a bunch of Spanish readers will be like, "Why is this planet named Then?"
I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time that someone was like, "Oh, I need something that sounds weird and exotic for a Star Wars planet. I'll go to another language."
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know. Stu John is one of the most egregious things. Sometimes things that are canon are worse. I said that about Crash Bandicoot's belly button earlier, I think, and it rings true now. Please
also,
YouTube.com.
Yeah, you can see us on YouTube and see Crash Bandicoot's belly button.
Look at him!
Yeah, those episodes usually come out. I'm trying to get them out on Mondays after the show comes out. So if you are watching on YouTube, the show comes out earlier on normal podcast feeds. But I'm trying to hold it down. Anything else? Are we done here?
I think you're done.
Dakota's decided that we might not be done, but Ben's done.
Well, Ben doesn't have anything else to add, so I'm signing off. I don't know what you two are doing, but goodbye.